Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, everyone. My name is Khadijah Tou Tou, and you are listening to In Trance right now. Now, In Trance is all about us knowing that we are the creators of our own realities, creating and co creating within multi dimensional spaces. This is all about being in the 5D, the 4D, the 6D, the 3D, whatever dimension you choose to exist in. It's about knowledge, it's about love, it's about perspective, it's about accepting, not just tolerating. Because when we tolerate one another, we're saying, yeah, you go do that over there, and I'm going to do this over here. Right? And I don't like you, and you don't like me. But see, when you accept things about people, you still know that you have a community to collaborate with. And we're all about collaboration. It's not about agreeing, it's not about disagreeing, it's about gaining knowledge from one another. And that's what Entrance is all about. We know we are the creators of our own realities, co creating the environment that we exist in together and as a collective. And we are stronger. We are stronger united than we are separate. And we know this to be true and for a fact. So, I'm super excited to be your host, Khadijah Tou Tou. I am super ecstatic to have you all join here. And I am excited about the episodes. We have a lot of great, amazing guests coming on our show. I mean, from authors to motivational speakers to business people to people in the community. Everyone has a story. And it's not about who you are in the society, it's about what you do with what you have in the society, right? Are you just out there pretending to be something that you aren't, or are you really living your truth? And that's what we're all about here, is living your truth, your decided truth. I don't have to agree with you in order for it to be your truth, but I am curious about why you chose that truth to be yours and what you do with it and how you decide to function in the society. So let's go ahead and gear up. Welcome to Entrance, and thank you so much for listening. And I can't wait to see what kind of magic we co create together, because we know we are deliberate creators. I'll see you
How
soon.
you doing, sister?
I am doing so well, King. How are you doing?
All well, all well. You have a beautiful smile.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All praise to Allah, though. All praise.
Oh man, all praise. I didn't stay in any religion, but I can say I had a beautiful time in a Christian and a Muslim experience in my lifetime. So I make
It's
sure I
all
give a
about,
lot of reverence.
it's all about connection. It's all about connection at the end of the day.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
I wanted to actually talk to you. I've done a lot of studying on you. And
Okay.
um actually, you want to know what's funny is one of my white friends showed me you. because
Oh, okay.
because I was teaching her about like WB Du Bois, and I was telling
Yes, yes,
her
yes.
about, because I actually lived in China for 5 years before coming back here because of COVID. And
Wow.
she was like, "Have you heard of Killer Mike? He has this really cool TV show where he goes around black communities." And I'm like, oh, "Okay." So she sat me down and we watched it together. So I just want to say thank you for all of the works that you do in the community. Um,
Thank you. I appreciate you.
and I know sometimes it's probably not easy, but I just want to say thank you.
You're
But
welcome.
I do have a question for you.
That's fine.
And this is something that I work on. I'm a teacher. And
I got that sense from you, but okay.
since coming back to America, it's been like reverse culture shock, because I forgot what being black was here. I forgot that my skin was a trigger to other people. And coming back here, I'm just like, holy, like,
Now, let me ask you something. Now, was China a utopia? Because after I traveled, what I found out is that blacks are kind of treated in despicable ways globally. So the last time I was in Europe was a couple of years ago. Well, maybe a year ago. But at that time, in the nation of India, black immigrants were being attacked. In
mm,
the nation of Russia, Nigerian again, black were being attacked. Of course, for years in the UK, blacks have made their grievances known. But even in China, I'd heard that after there was some tumultuous things around COVID or something that we'd seen being put out or being evicted blacks. So was the culture shock that you saw more of it, or was the culture shock, or did you, like me, notice that globally we seem to be underappreciated and treated oftentimes not as good?
Well, I think it depends on who you surround yourself with and who your tribe is abroad. Um,
Got you.
I think I really appreciate that question because I think there's always different viewpoints and different levels, right?
Hmm.
So you did have the African people being discriminated against,
Hmm.
but see, in China, it's more of, I don't call it racist, I call it passportist. Because as long as you have that blue passport, they're in love with you. And
Yeah.
that's the truth of the matter, is like they do love Americans there. And
Yeah.
like, my experience was different because I had a bunch of like the Black Network. I was in Shanghai. The
Gotcha.
Black Network alone, we used to like do a lot of entrepreneurial events where we would have this thing called Black Expo. And
Uh-huh.
it would just be all the Black and African vendors just together. So we had our own system of group economics there.
So
And we
the,
invite the
the
Chinese people along
so
to.
the salvation for you and for me many times when I travel is the privilege of having a blue passport. And for those people that have not traveled internationally, a blue passport represents that you have an American passport. And
Yes.
since the American dollar is appreciated globally, you tend to be treated better. So essentially, we got house Negro treatment, and that's it. Just
Oh, absolutely. You know what?
so
That's what I
we
said. I forgot what being Black
and
is
I'm
because
not laughing about it as much as saying here we're oppressed, and other places you'll fuck around and be a house Negro. So it's and you.
yeah. No, I totally, you know what? It wasn't until my African friends told me about their experiences that I really started standing up and being like, no, that's wrong. Because I didn't realize I had this. I guess like here they would have white privilege. I had American privilege. So
Exactly.
when I walked in and they saw I was American, I didn't have to really have an interview. They were like, okay, you're American. We'll
Yeah.
pay you top dollar and boom, it's done.
I
So
saw a story of a white American guy over there who literally built a false identity as a false consult of some type and was just making thousands of dollars showing up. Like he might have been in the medical just making money off straight bullshit. So it's interesting you say that because at first I thought it was just white privilege, but if it's, I might get me a hustle going. Get over
hey,
to China.
you
Hey,
should you
I will
should.
teach Chinese kids how to speak Atlanta
Let me
and
tell you
tell them
something.
it's.
Let me tell you something, Killer Mike, and this is for real. This is what made me so disappointed in the hip hop community here. I used to be so pissed. I'm gonna tell you why. Chinese people love Black culture. I mean, I'm talking about they have afros. They're doing hip hop music. I remember one day walking through and they were twerking, and I was like, oh my goodness! Like I didn't realize the impact that hip hop has on the entire world. So actually, I would even argue to say hip hop community needs to be aware the world is listening. So what we have to say, we have to be real careful about like what we're saying because the world is listening to us.
Because it gets parodied.
Yes.
I understand. I understand.
But
Uh-huh.
but my question, why I
Okay,
got,
let's get to your
I'm
question. No
sorry, I'm
problem.
so sorry. My question for you was, I work since being in China, I really got into this place of Zen and peace and tranquility with self.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what you thought of the protests and the languaging, because I went to the March on Washington, and one of the things that I noticed was the dialogue. It was like prosecute the police, but my thing was, and then what? Like, how are we fixing and healing our mindsets as Black people? How are we healing? And I started chanting a different chant, and I was like, believe, achieve, we can make a change, because I
Absolutely.
don't want
Absolutely.
to shout out like all of this. I don't like shouting out negativity. I want everything to be pushed. Like, I
Yeah.
understand the circumstance, but like we have to really push these high vibrational stuff so they can't even touch us.
Yeah. I think it's a mixture of all. I think that, like any society or any organization, I think you're going to have some frontline warriors, which we've had. And I'd like to acknowledge ones recently, the skateboard culture. Kids who ride skateboards, black, white, Asian, and indifferent, have literally put their skateboards up as a shield versus the cop shield to protect people. So that's something I've never seen. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. I think that your notion of vibrating high is a very valid thing. I think we should. I think that any movement, like the sixth Kingian step of King and nonviolence, should seek reconciliation. And his goal of beloved community was not a utopia where everybody was just okay. It was one in which everyone sought greater understanding and higher vibration. Sometimes you got to go out in the streets and fuck some shit up, though, to let them know that I can vibrate high and low. So I don't castigate any protester or rioter or
Right.
looter. I, like you, are just like, what do we do after? And
Yeah.
my opinion, what we do after is plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. That's not just setting up to do a riot. I heard a Afeni Shakur say that they asked her about Black liberation and the Black liberation movement and the violence. She said, I think that we left out spirituality. Um, it was
Yes.
it was her or Sada, I think it was her. And as a young man, I wanted to be a warrior, and I am a warrior. But if you're a warrior that doesn't know how to garden, the people you're protecting will die of hunger. And what I had to learn and know and understand is that the old adage that says, is the student was saying to the master, if I'm a warrior, why do you have me working in the garden? Or if I'm and he essentially was telling him that, you'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a time of war. And I think that we need to have that balance. We need to know how to vibrate high so we know what we're fighting for. I'm not fighting to beat evil. I'm fighting to be good.
Amen.
If a lot, oftentimes, and Hampton made this note about educating all the people, you'll replace a dictator with another dictator in the matter of being convenient,
Hmm.
versus understanding that, truly the temptation when you become powerful is to put others in the place of where you always saw them, versus creating a community where everyone can truly thrive and be empowered. So I'm with you on that, on the vibrating high thing. I just think that there is some need for both. There is a need for violence. There is a need for upset and rage. And after that, after you win the war, who's going to take care of organizing? Who's going to make sure these babies grow up self-confident? Who's going to plant our food? So I think that in the revolution, we need to understand that the revolutionary is a teacher,
Hmm.
is a farmer, is
Hmm.
a producer, is a business person, is a warrior. And they're all points of the revolution, and we need it all. So you are as important to the revolution as my friends with 15 AR-15s and 10,000 rounds, you know? And I
Amen.
would argue more so because you are a part of what grows strong and confident children. And like Frederick Douglass said, it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men.
Amen. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
Say this is I think a lot of people like spread love, but also I think people need to remember the Jesus in the temple moment, and that's
Yeah, like, bitch, we're tired to shit over.
yeah.
And I want to tell all the Christians out there, Jesus is mentioned more in the Quran than maybe even the Bible. So y'all might want to fellowship with some Muslims because they know a lot about that guy Jesus, man. I think you guys would be interested to hear that.
Thank you
Love,
so
sister.
much for choosing me.
I
Have a
appreciate you. Love and respect. Have a good day.
love and respect. Who are you to laugh when someone else falls down?
Yeah.
Okay, they kicked you when you were down. So when you get up, you're going to kick them too? Because doesn't that make you as them? Like, if anything, just walk away. Oh, you slapped. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to turn this other cheek. And now I'm going to let you slap this cheek too. No, I don't think that that's what it means. It means
No.
I'm going to turn the other cheek so I don't see you. I don't see you anymore. You don't even exist to me. Like, I'm turning the other cheeks because I'm already vibrating higher at this point.
Yeah.
So even if I wanted to see you, I can't see you because you operate from down here and I operate from up here. So that's my interpretation of it. But some people are like, no, and then you give them your other cheek. Like, no,
No.
you don't see them because you move forward. And when you move forward, you don't look back.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up because that's the whole thing about forgiveness. It's like, I'm going to forgive you, and then it's not because I condone what you did. I'm forgiving you to release me from that shit And I'm going to step back and reevaluate the situation. Will I keep letting you come into my life? Am I going to turn the other cheek and let you smack it? No, I'm definitely stepping back or dodging it, bob and weave, getting out of the way, because that's your karma. And I trust that God, the universe, will take care of you. And it's karmically wrong. So this is what you and I'm sure you understand this. It's karmically wrong to say shit about people with hate behind it, to wish someone ill. I want them to die, drink bleach, all that shit. You deserve it. Even if truly it's the universe balancing out and they deserve it, cool. It's not my place to throw energy towards it. Why? Because that's not high vibe. That is not good energy. That will come back to me. So I tell people all the time, I'm the most selfish spiritual practitioner because I understand how the law works. I don't want that shit coming back to me. I love and light and go your own way. Your goods over there, go there and go there quickly. Because I'm not playing that. I'm not getting wrapped up in that. And when you said that, it reminded me of that song. What's Toby? Oh God, I always say his name wrong. Toby Nigwe. He has a song called Jesus, and he says, "Try Jesus." He says, "But don't try me, because if you come at me, I'm gonna come swinging." And he's very positive, and he's on the vibe. He's very enlightened. I love him and his family. They make music together. They're awesome. I'm gonna create a dance because I want to feature his music more. But yeah, it's that whole thing. You're right. Don't just turn the cheek to take it on the other side. And that's what people don't get. My Nana and I, we have arguments over this sometimes because she's like, oh, you never speak up if I say something you don't like, or what, you can't just let everybody walk all over you. And it's like, I don't. I choose my battles wisely. I choose how I fight my battles, and I step back or I step aside. But you're not going to walk over me. Definitely not.
Absolutely. And even walking over you, people, was it Maya Angelou or Ayala Vanzan? People teach
I
you
love Yama.
how to treat you.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't have to tell you with my words how to treat me. I'm going to limit my access. Yeah. I'm going to limit access. You might not have as much access to me after this point. And access, honestly, if you treat your energy like you treat your money, like I'm frugal. So I treat my energy like my money. I'm very frugal. I'm very particular who's in my presence, because, and it's not anything like, oh, I'm better or oh, I'm worse, but it's just that you, like you were saying, you don't know who's wishing you well. You don't know who's wishing what on you. What's up, girl?
Oh my gosh. Hello.
How are you?
Good.
I just woke up, so I got like my bonnet on still, so I'm looking like.
I like it.
Thank
Keep
you,
your
girl.
bonnet on.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet.
Oh my god. Okay, so I heard you talking about vagina cups.
Yes.
Are you talking about like the flat one or the actual cup?
I am talking about the flat one, the one that like goes up behind the pelvic bone. Have you tried it? No? Okay, have you
I've
like the
tried
Diva
the cup, like the one that's like just the regular cup that comes out.
The silicone cup?
Yeah, but I don't know about the flat one. That's why I came on here. I was like, let me help her, because I had to play with myself on that. I felt uncomfortable. Like, have you ever felt like you were molesting yourself?
Yes. It was like, how many fingers do I have to stick up here? Like,
yeah.
What do I have to do to get this out? Yeah.
And then you watch the YouTube girls videos, and they just make it look all easy. I'm like,
well, they're just like, oh, here it is. I'm like, that's not what it looks like. There's like blood everywhere, and I'm like,
right? Yeah. And then you walk out, your hands are looking like you played with ketchup, like you were playing with hot dogs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. No, see, I've used the menstrual cup for like 7 years, and it's awesome. I've only been through 2 of them. Like, it's so great. It saves so much money. But I'm about to get married, and I'm like, all right, if I want to have sex on my period, I want to try these things, and I can't figure it out. I cannot
figure it out. Yeah, you know what? Actually, when I saw it, it's like the disc, right?
It's like a disc, and it has a little plastic cup underneath.
Yeah, I okay, whatever. Since we're already talking about this, like when I was using the cup, sometimes, like, you know how I guess you do like Kegels, and so
Right.
then sometimes it will go up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't get this thing out. Oh
Right.
my goodness, like, so I really don't know if I could trust the flat one, because how do you take it out?
So that's the thing is it's again, watch so many videos. Um, apparently, like you have to be in a certain position. So when you slide it in, and then when you stand up, it kind of like hooks in place. So it's first like straight, and then when you stand up, it kind of hooks like that. So in the same way, when you sit back down to take it
Mhm.
out, it's supposed to
Mhm.
go like that, and you're supposed to like hook one finger and pull it out.
Yeah, but that's what they say, one finger. But then
That's what they say.
I'm sitting there like looking like I'm masturbating on the toilet because I
Right.
can't get it. Like, because I'm trying to figure out what do these other, like, because if your vagina's tighter, then it's hard to put it up there. Like, even, with the cup, I was like,
Yeah.
am I too tight for this? Like, I really had to, like,
You
and
have to
then,
really, really cinch it. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is I'm like, the cups, I know they have like certain sizes, but like a lot of my friends have really struggled with it. They're like, I need smaller, I need smaller. And I'm like, I know they need to make smaller cups because women don't have, there's not a universal vagina. Women have different size vaginas. So,
exactly. You know what? We're
yeah.
going to have to write them a letter and be like, all of my friends measured their vagina, and we have come to the conclusion that
Yeah. We
two,
need to
three,
diversify.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it was so funny. One of my friends, this is how close I am with my friends. I was like literally figuring out the cup, and she just like walks in and she's like, how's it going? What's happening? And I was like, I don't know. There's just like blood everywhere. And she was like, okay. So she doesn't even use tampons because she's too afraid. She's like, I can't figure it out. Like it scares me. And she's like, I want to use the cup, but I can't even figure out a tampon. I'm like, all right, like we can figure this out together. She's like, all right, will you insert it for me? I'm like, 1000%. Like we can figure this out together, you know?
Wait,
But
wait, pause. I just have to stop you for a second. Did you say that you will help her put in a vagina cup? You
yeah,
are a real friend. I'm
I'm
sorry.
a real friend.
There's, I would, being younger, I remember one of my friends, I love having this conversation because I
Yeah.
feel like more women should have these kind of conversations. But
Yes. Yeah.
I remember in college, like one of my friends, oh my gosh, she had sex, and apparently the condom was stuck in there.
Oh, uh-huh.
Like, all right, come on, open your legs. Let's put on
We
some
gotta go.
let's put on some gloves and let's find out where this is. And
Right.
then we didn't realize it, but the condom ended up on the floor somewhere, and the dog came through with chewing it in its mouth. We were like, woo, well, I'd rather your dog be chewing it.
Yeah. I'd rather be stuck in your dog's mouth than in your vagina. So that's better.
One
Oh,
of my students, she said, would you help me do that, Toto? Yes, I'll help you with your vagina too.
that's so funny.
But not
Uh,
if you figure it out, you have to let us know.
I will. This is one of the things is I'm like, I have no fear talking about this stuff. I think of course it needs to be normalized. I'm like, this is the whole thing. Dudes get freaked out about periods. I don't know why. I think it's the way their mamas raised them. Because one, the vaginas do so much more than please you. Like if you love pussy, you gotta love all the pussy. Like you gotta love all
Yeah.
of its aspects, all the things that it can do, not just the way that it serves you. Honestly. So I'm like, don't be so afraid that like it does this really awesome, cool shedding thing every month, and yet it still bounces right back. It's still ready to go. Like
Right.
it's amazing.
Don't gaslight my vagina.
Right. Don't gaslight my vagina. It's fine. She knows the truth. Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, nah, let's normalize this. Let's have this conversation. And so many women like reached out to me and they were like, oh my gosh, this thing is great. And then they're like, I hate this thing. Me and my husband just have sex in the shower. And I'm like, awesome. Share your stories. This is what we need to be talking about.
And even the concept of just the concept of having sex on your period, like
Right.
I know for me personally, that's something I haven't ever. I'm not really in position. I'm not active, but
Yeah.
like that's something that wouldn't even be on my radar to think about like yet. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
I think
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear like this conversation, because I think this isn't really, it's one of those taboo conversations. Like now that we can talk about sex,
Right.
even the certain aspects of sex, like I feel like there should be like a sex talk channel for women, just to listen to women about these kinds of things.
Right. And that's the thing is like for some women, they feel uncomfortable having sex on their period. So it's like, cool, if you don't want to, don't. But other women, like, one, it's great for cramps. Like, orgasming is great for cramps. It's like, go ahead and push everything out, you know? But then some dudes don't want to have sex when a girl's on their period, which I'm like, again, love the vagina and holistically and everything that it can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely agree. I think there needs to be more avenues that women can discuss their sex life freely. Because one, I mean, sexuality as a whole is a taboo topic, but then you talk about female sexuality, that's a whole different level.
But it's so fluid. But it's so interesting too, because sex is it's fluid, right? It's natural. Like, you know, and when men talk about it, it's interesting because it's kind of like low key glorified. Like,
Right.
yeah, I did this, I did that to her. But when women talk about it, it's more like it's more that intimate. You know what I mean? It's kind of like motherly. Whereas, you know, like it's just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. But this is why I'm like, one of my brothers, he didn't even know that women had 3 holes when he got married. So it's like, this is how bad I think we have trained our boys and men to understand the female anatomy and how it works. And I mean, so it's a holistic thing again, where it's like, women, raise your sons to have a better understanding of sexuality, of female sexuality, of their own sexuality. So it's not like they're not getting sex ed from pornography or what their friends are saying, you know, like they're getting it from a position of like, oh, this is beautiful and wonderful and safe and good and connecting and all these things that, yeah, I think we just need to change the language around it in general.
Even with porn, you know, like I remember watching it, and it can be quite educational in terms
Right.
like depending on what you're watching. Like some people, they do want, you know, to watch 2 people, you know, doing their thing, but they also have videos on like how, like, where's the G spot, how to find it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think these are important things to know.
Right.
You know, for me personally, like when the time comes where I do get married, because that's how long I plan to not be sexually active. But women are active and they're doing that. Like, I think if you want to explore that, like, I don't feel that women should be held to the same pedigree men are not held in, because then, but actually what it shows is that we actually are more powerful if the comparison is made. But I don't like making comparisons like that. But if it is made and you hold me to a standard that you're not following, you know what I mean? One of my things is like when they talked about the song like WAP with Cardi B and Zion, my issue was, one, I don't know any married man who want some WAP. Like, and Cardi B is a married woman. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, your problem isn't with Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Your problem is media being able to play that song everywhere. So that, don't talk about them. But 2, what are the men rapping about? Because I remember growing up to twerk, 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 twerk. That, let me throw that cash at it. Hey.
Yeah.
So now when the women respond to you about throwing that cash, I'm gonna get that cash from you. Hey, now she's that to you, and now you're saying she's acting inappropriate. No, man. You guys are upholding the standard, and now she's following your standard that you're upholding. So don't talk about us. Like, but at the same time, I understand both sides, but I'm just it's not okay for you to be free, and then if I choose to be free, then it's not.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I was talking with my siblings about, that, because I was like, that's what the song was. It was a reclaiming, you know. Men have demonized women, or not demonized, degraded women through their songs. But as soon as a woman bounces back and says like, no, I'm going to say the exact same thing about women, then suddenly it's provocative and inappropriate. But when men were doing it, it was fine. So it's a complete double standard.
Well, you know how this world is.
I know, but once again, it's just, we have to change the narrative. We have to, and I mean, what better generation than our generation of women, right?
You know what? Let me tell you something. I don't know who did what, but they done gave Gen Z and millennials the most to work. You know, like I feel like they got to chill, and meanwhile, before they die, they're to like die and not set us up well. And now we're over here marching on the streets, and I'm like, this is the last time that
Right.
we ever go, because my kids are not going through this.
Right. Agreed. I can't wait. I can't wait to see your kids come out, girl.
Girl, I can't to meet one day.
Where are you now?
I'm back in Virginia now.
Oh, where in Virginia?
In Fairfax.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. How about you? Where are you?
I'm in Atlanta. I moved back to Richmond though at the end of the month. So I'm thrilled to be back.
You're in Atlanta?
Yeah, I've been here for 5 years.
Oh my. Okay. Wait. No,
Yeah.
I knew, because you were talking about Killer Mike doing good things in the community.
Yeah. So he owns Bankhead Fish Fry right like down the street from me. He just popped up. Like he's been doing such good things.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool to hear him talk about it on TV and then actually getting to talk to him and then hearing you say, yeah, he does actually do what he says.
He does. Like he goes to the neighbor's house and brings them food. Like he's actually like living up in his word of what he's saying that he wants to do. He does it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's been a good leader. Yeah. Well,
and you know, it's such an important and relevant topic for nowadays with mental health. And mental health has always been like a taboo topic, no matter what, you know, female, men, young, old, any race, any color, anything, right? Especially like the Latin and the African American culture, but more so for men. And I see it all the time as a provider, you know, I get way more females, maybe 8 females out of 10 would have a better or an easier, I would say, an easier time saying, hey, I'm dealing with feeling vulnerable or sad or crying, wanting to cry or feeling depressed or feeling lonely. But if men do that, it's like they're weak. It's like they're not a man. It's like all of these things that are associated. It's like, no. Like you're feeling your feelings, you're feeling yourself, you're getting to know yourself, you're getting acquainted with the way that you're feeling. It's not vulnerable. As a matter of fact, vulnerability in my eyes is brushing it off because you simply don't want to deal with it. Dealing with something that it's bothering you, dealing with the emotions and going hardcore and actually going through and working through those emotions is not vulnerable. I mean, you got to be a tough, you know what, to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what makes us so strong as well. And I often question, what kind of woman am I? What kind of woman am I? Am I being the woman who is allowing the man to come to me and to vent and to cry on my lap? Am I being that woman? And when I started questioning that and improving myself, I started taking life coaching classes, not because I wanted to life coach, but because I wanted to life coach myself. So as I started learning to process and be more understanding with myself, well, here come a bunch of men in my inbox saying, well, I don't talk to anybody about this except my mother. You know, and this is like multiples of my friends, you know, because I work amongst a lot of men because I do a lot of different businesses in terms of like connecting, you know, and being in a different country, you have friends from different places. So a lot of the times they'll vent to me and I'll talk. You know, I've seen some of my male friends cry. I've seen them be angry and in a rage. And, you know, you when you see it, there's a human essence that comes out. At the end of the day, we're women. So it's our jobs to cultivate and take care of our sons. Essentially, like that's how I see it, is you're my son, you're my baby, you're my brother. You know what I mean? You're my sister. I see you because I see myself. But it's easy not to see other people when you don't see yourself. But when you can start to learn to control your own thoughts, and that's what makes my thoughts are dangerous so dangerous, is that I'm not going by the system that you told me to go by, society. I'm going by my own understanding and my own rules. And I'm reading books like Think and Grow Rich and As a Man Thinketh and You've Got to Be Hungry by Les Brown, right? I'm reading all of these different kinds of books because I want to understand and have a deeper understanding of myself while still being of service to other people.
But I love that you brought that up and you're like, some people think I'm feminist. And then you would think some people on the outside go, oh, Islam, they're all about putting down the woman and not respecting the woman, which is what total opposite of what you just said. So can you
Yeah.
expand on that a little bit?
Foundation of our prophet, peace be upon him, is the fact that he was with a strong woman and a smart businesswoman. So at the end of the day, you have this man who's seen, you know what I mean, as a powerful man, but he had this powerful wife. And then on top of that, after she died, he loved her so much that he actually would buy her gifts, her friends' gifts, because he was like, I love her so much. And when I see you guys, it reminds me of her. And he would buy them gifts and like cater to them as well. But then not only that, but when the prophet died, peace be upon him, when he died, it was his wives and his daughter. Like, this is called, in you see these hands in Buddhism.
Oh, the Hamza hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is also called the hands of Fatima. Fatima was my
Uh-huh.
daughter, and it represents our 5 pillars.
Oh,
And so one of the things is that, and it represents, and Fatima was known to be such a pure, good soul. So
yes.
the women who were the scholars, because they lived with him, they saw him, they had to preach out like what he did and all these things. So it was the women who carried out the religion once he was gone. And it was the woman who raised him up financially. So at the end of the day, if people can see it like that, but that's not a story that you hear anywhere. You know what I mean? So when I see that kind of thing, I'm like, heck yeah, like that's my stuff. Like, you can't tell me. That's why when people are like, you're feminist, I'm like, no, I'm Muslim. Like, I am. That's what it is. So
Yes.
there's a difference between a religion and a culture. And
Yes.
oftentimes people get stuck at the culture. Like that whole silencing women and stuff like that, that's cultural.
Hello, everyone. My name is Khadijah Tou Tou. I first want to go ahead and thank Mr. Les Brown for doing this and training us, and we are amongst greatness. I want to also thank my coach, John Tallarico, who's worked tirelessly day and night with me and has had much patience. I want to thank my friend, Crystal, for helping me. I want to thank my mother, of course. I want to thank God for waking me up for another day. And I just want to present to you how gratitude is so important. When you have gratitude for people, people show you a different side of them. When you have gratitude for people, it allows people to show you and yourself to the world. Now, this takes me back to a time in Shanghai, China, about 3 years ago or so. I was on the train. And it was quite interesting because on this train ride that day, it was super crowded. I mean, in China, there are a lot of people. I mean, it's like sardines packed. And I wish I was joking, but I'm being so serious. Sardines totally packed. We're all sitting on the train, and there's this man coming through, and he's hitting people, like just hitting people. And I'm watching them, and they're all like, like almost like cursing the man out. And so he comes up to me, and then he hits me. And I'm like, ouch. And I turn around and I realize this man was blind. He was hitting people with his cane. Now, in that moment, I realized, wow, what patience it takes to turn around and to be able to realize, okay, you know what? Sometimes it's okay to hold off on whatever anger, whatever emotion that you're feeling, because it's always better to respond than it is to react. So of course I walk on and I walk into the middle school. It's my first day. I walk in, click, clack, click, clack, because of course I have heels on. I walk in and I'm excited to meet the new students. And I'm like, hello. And I am greeted with the children. That's your fate, Joe Ren. That's your fate, Joe Ren. See, what the children didn't know was I had a working relationship with the Chinese language. So I understood exactly what they were saying. So once again, in my face that day, I'm getting presented with the option. Do I react or do I respond? And what does that reaction and what does that response look like? I stayed quiet. I knew the lesson that we were going to learn that day. It couldn't be that lesson. Have you ever had an opportunity or a chance to choose, and you're conscious enough to choose whether you're going to react or respond? I want you to type 3 in the comment box. I'm going to wait for you a second. I want you to type 3 in the comment box. Yes, okay. I want you to think for a second, and I want you to think about what you would do if you were the teacher in that circumstance. Would you blame it on racism? What would you do? Because in that moment, I realized, write this down. Lions don't always have to roar. Let me say that again. Lionesses don't always have to roar. I didn't shout at them. I didn't yell at them because, in fact, I knew that although the world is 40% children, those children are 100% of our future. And me being their teacher, well, guess what? That means I am the facilitator, leading them up to the mountain to come down into the promised land, because I chose that day to be high class. See, high class isn't something you can just buy. It's not something you can just spend your money on and just go ahead and get. It's not something that just, sits on a table and you can just pick it up and say, oh, I'm going to be high class today. No. See, high class is when you go and do your homework. See, I knew that day I had to go home and do my homework. And what did my homework look like? Yeah, some days it consisted of me crying. Some days it consisted of me wondering why a skin so dark as mine was always so challenged. I remember one day a child was challenged by me, and he began to rub my face. And he's like, I can't get it off of her. And I began wondering, what is he doing? Is everything okay? What's going on? And his mother's over there, stop it. Stop doing that to Toto, stop. And he kept going, Toto, I love you. I just don't want you to be so dirty. See, that's the moment I realized this isn't a bias. I'm not even sure it's a prejudice. Sometimes you have to understand people are where they're at, and you have to assist them into knowledge. Because a lot of the times when you give the knowledge, it won't be rejected. Oftentimes people don't know that they're seeking what they're seeking, because what you're seeking is always seeking you. That's what my coach, Mr. John Tallarico, tells me. See, I had to make the choice not to see obstacles and only to see the objectives, as Napoleon Hill once said. So I knew going back to class that day, I couldn't just teach any lesson. So I had to teach them something they could hold on to, so they could teach themselves. So we recited, hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. And they all said together, I said, who is that poem by? And they said, Langston Hughes. See, I didn't have to tell them who they are or what they are or even what they were doing. See, I knew from experience, the best teacher is that experience in itself. See, I knew, and I held close to me a concept and a term from the South African Xhosa and Zulu language. Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because you are. Can everyone write that in the chat box, please? I am because you are. See, ladies and gentlemen, you have to know who you are. Because, like James Allen said, circumstance, it only proves what kind of man you are. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. And he is who you choose to be. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you yourself run into these things, please make sure you know that lions don't always have to roar, and neither do lionesses. Because you have the choice to respond or react. Hold yourself up because you know that your way has been paved for. Hold your head high with high class because you are judged by the content of your character and not your skin. And make sure you don't see any obstacles and you only see the objectives and stay focused on the goal. And lastly, hold fast to your dreams. Ubuntu. I am because you are, and I know who I am. I'm Khadijah Tou Tou. If you would like to consult with me or anything, please visit www.khadijahtoutou.com. That's www.khadijahtou.com. Thank you so much for listening. It was a plum pleasing pleasure.
Yes, I am because you are. You better preach, Miss Khadijah. Okay.
Yes.
I know it now. I got you. Thank you so much.